What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Banished for Cost podcast. I am your host, E-HeroesForged, and today I want to talk about something that kind of rubbed me the wrong way today. And it's not the first time I felt this way about a topic like this, and I definitely think someone should maybe shed a little light on it. And it's nothing new to the Yu-Gi-Oh community. It's toxic players, it's toxic groups, toxic discords, Yu-Gi-Oh channels, even toxic locals, like it's not dedicated to one specific area, but I do think it is everywhere in the Yu-Gi-Oh community. And I feel like somebody should maybe bring it to light and kind of have open talk about it. Like this isn't a shot at anyone, because everyone's going to have different viewpoints, and there's no reason to get in these really big argumentative debates where you want to fight somebody or you want to not be friends with someone. But I do think it needs to be kind of an open discussion. And one of the things I want to talk about is, you have, from what I've seen, just from different discords, different Yu-Gi-Oh channels, is these really, really good players. They have a lot of influence on the game of Yu-Gi-Oh, and I think they use their platform for the wrong reasons. I think Yu-Gi-Oh is a game that you can expand on your imagination no matter how far you want to go. And an example is, I'm a hero player, and everyone knows heroes have a lot of sub-engines as far as different types of heroes: elemental hero, vision hero, evil hero, whatever. Everything just kind of molds itself together to where it's one massive pile of a hero deck, and whether it's 40 or 60 cards. But a lot of players, let's say in just the hero community, and it's not just heroes, it's Dark Magician, Blue Eyes, whatever, but just using heroes as an example. If I want heroes to expand and be more meta, I strongly feel you have to detach from running it pure. I think you need to maybe mix it with other things. I've seen different lists as far as mixing it with Fiendsmith, and I've seen a Canine deck with it, both, however you want to look at it. Even some forms of Ryziel, like a Ryziel Fiendsmith hero variant. I'm not saying any of that would ever be meta relevant, but I do think you have to adapt to that. But a lot of these really good players are using that, they want to keep things pure, and that's fine. But I don't think that a lot of these guys are going about it the right way. Whereas if you go to roughly any Discord, you're going to see pretty much all of them talking about, these pure lists. And, if I'm going to top, I want to do it with a pure hero list or something like that, or a pure Dark Magician list. And then the people who aren't as good, or they're new players, new people coming into the game, they see that these higher profile Yu-Gi-Oh players are saying no, I'm going to do it pure. If you do anything outside of that, then you're just not doing it right. I think that's wrong. I don't think that's the right way to approach this game and approach new players like that. I think what we've kind of lost in the Yu-Gi-Oh community is the ability to adapt. And I think if you don't adapt in this community, then I think you get left behind. It's no different from an old person not knowing how to use a computer. They've kind of shunned using technology their whole life, and then once they get older, they're kind of left behind. They're lost. They're in a whole new world. And Yu-Gi-Oh is no different. If you just sit there and do the same thing over and over again, and you keep losing and losing and losing, then it's the pilot. It's not being able to adjust to what the meta is calling for. Now, if you just don't want to adjust and you just want to stay the same, then and then you harp on it, and then that's just what you support, I mean, that's fine. But I don't think competitive Yu-Gi-Oh may be right for you either. I can strongly say that. I might sound like a hypocrite by saying that, but that's kind of where I'm at. If you don't want to go outside your comfort zone and try to grow as a duelist or as a person, then maybe you should just go to Genesis or go to Edison or Time Wizard, whatever. If you go to anything like that, then yeah, that's where you may need to be, because I feel like you reject the idea of being competitive. And me, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to get so competitive that I'll throw hands with you, but at the same time, I want to win. And I know pure heroes right now can't win. Like, they might steal a game or whatever, but there's too many choke points for me to say, you know what, I'm gonna build this pure and I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna win locals. It really doesn't happen. You'd have to the amount of luck you would have to do that is just uncanny, and I don't think that's the way to go. And I think what comes with that is knowing how to adjust the deck and what to mix it with. Now, I will say, when the new hero support comes out, I do think keeping it as a more of an omni, hero deck is going to be a little better. Yeah, the deck is going to be more consistent, but I still think you're going to need more. Heroes aren't going to be meta when that comes out. They're going to be better and they're going to be a little bit more competitive, but I don't feel like they're going to be this world-beating deck that you just can't get past. I mean, you see replays on YouTube right now all the time, and you see a lot of the wins, but what you're not seeing are the losses too, because I promise you, the deck still bricks. You still run a lot of bricks, and that kind of is what this stems into. My next thing is I think Yu-Gi-Oh players are stuck in their own ways. Like, they won't change what they've done. They've always done things a certain way, and they don't want to change. They got that old man mentality, and at the end of the day, like, it's fine. Like, you play how you want. But I think it needs to be brought to light that if you choose to do that, then I do think you choose to lose, and I think you choose to have a loser's mentality because you're unwilling to adapt to the meta, and you're basically saying that you hate modern Yu-Gi-Oh by saying that. And I think that's very factual. I really don't think that's that harsh of an opinion either. And some people might take offense to it. I've recently been under fire by saying something like that players are stuck in their own way. And when I say that, like, for me as a hero player, the way I've always built the deck was, you had to have 3 of this, 3 of that, 3 of this. And what you've basically done is you've run so many 3-ofs that you run out of space to either have non-engine or have better starters. And sometimes you have to eliminate certain things. I remember roughly a year ago that I put it out there that maybe we should cut Stratos to 2, possibly even 1. And the hero community erupted, and they weren't for it. We've always ran 3 Stratos when it's legal, and that's just how it needs to be. We're going to run 3 Stratos. And then not a month after that, a much bigger channel than mine came out and said, you know what, I think I'm going to cut Stratos to 2. And then now look, every list you see, it's either at 2 or it's at 1. And that's where it kind of falls back on, like these bigger YouTubers, like they carry a lot of weight. Someone like me, like, my channel's not that big. Not many people follow me, and not many people are going to listen to what I have to say. But you get one of these bigger channels that are doing the exact same thing, they'll look at it like it's the Bible or something, like, you just spread the word. And if that's what it takes to do the right thing or make change, then cool, whatever. But a lot of players aren't using it for that reason. And when I say, and like, when I talk about Stratos, like, that's just one thing. Like, I also came under fire with the Fusion Destiny card, and in my opinion, I don't feel Fusion Destiny is a starter. It can get you to an okay board, but I don't feel like it's something that you have to run 3 of. And I simply just, put that out there, and it's gotten a lot of backlash, because it's something new. And that's okay. Like, a lot of people, like I said, are scared to change, and they're stuck in their ways, and they don't know how to approach that idea, which like I said is fine, because right now it's fresh, it's new, and like, I think you should start doing it now. I think you should start making the adjustment now. And the reason I made the adjustment was because I feel that because Fusion Destiny can only be played once per turn. You can only use 1 Fusion Destiny per turn. So if I draw 2 in my opening hand, then I have 1 dead card in my hand. That's considered a brick. And I think that was maybe taken the wrong way in that community. But at the same time, I respect everyone's opinion, and there's no ill will towards that. It's just difference of opinion. And some people don't see it that way, and that's okay too. Like, I'm not here to fight nobody. This is something I do for fun, and this is something I enjoy to do. And I've been willing to adapt to this meta. I want to try new things. I want to see heroes get to a good spot, and I'd like to see my channel kind of push towards that direction. Like, I think if you have ideas that you think will elevate your deck and get it to the next level as far as being competitive, I think you should do it. I wouldn't worry about someone saying, like if you only have like a Dusty Gold and Sinister Necrom in a Canine Fiendsmith deck or whatever, and they say, well, that's not heroes. Well, I would argue, how many cards need to be in a deck for it to be a hero deck? Like, can you say it's pure? No, obviously not. But someone can't tell you it's not heroes. If you have heroes in the deck, then that's fine. Yugi is mostly known for being a Dark Magician player. Well, all he's got in his deck is one Dark Magician and one Dark Magician girl. Everything else is just a goulage of cards. So take that with a grain of salt. Like, I think Yu-Gi-Oh needs to get back to a place of imagination. And I may not agree with, like, let's say Triff, for example. Triff is probably one of the most arrogant people out there, and he'll tell you himself, but he's confident in what he does. And he's very, very intelligent when it comes to deck building. He'll put 4 or 5 engines together and then say that's what the deck is. It doesn't matter if it has 3. Like, he had that hamburger card in his Mitsu deck, and it's like, how can you call it that? It's only 2 cards. Well, it's part of the engine, so I think you can say it. So basically what it boils down to is I'd like to see more players adapt to being more on the competitive side if that's what they choose to do. Don't be afraid to do it just because some of these bigger channels are telling you not to. Like I'm a small channel. Like, you can take what I say or you can leave it where it is. It doesn't matter. All I can do is maybe bridge the gap and get some of these guys to be more open to different things. Even if you want to try a different deck, like, I love heroes, but let me tell you, I love other decks. Like, I like Luna Light, I like Branded, I love all that stuff. If you think for 1 second I won't go out and play one of those decks, you're wrong. Hell, I brought Ryziel to the YCS when I was full on going to bring heroes, but I loved another deck and I wanted to play it. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because you got people on the other spectrum where they only run rogue decks, and people get shunned because they want to run meta. If you got the money and you got the resources, you got the time, and you have the want to get better as a player and you want to explore those things, I think you should do it. I don't think there should be this disconnect between rogue players and meta players. We call them meta sheep, but I mean, it's just a fun term to use, but people shouldn't feel discouraged by going to play it. I think Yu-Gi-Oh is all about competition. You have fun first and be competitive next. So take that with what you will. I really hope that this video doesn't offend anyone as far as the being stuck in your own ways. I know that didn't go over well this morning in some of my other conversations, but I really hope that people that watch this, they don't get upset, they don't get angry. I know it'll get some backlash, but that's okay. It needs to be said, it needs to be talked about, and I hope this kind of reaches a lot of the smaller channels and some of the smaller players that don't really get out there and want to venture out. So outside of that, guys, I really appreciate y'all watching the video. I hope this helped anybody who's kind of on the edge about doing different things. If you liked the video, definitely give me a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Until then, I'll see y'all in the next one, guys. Heroes Best Deck.